So we continue with the dream work. So everything starts from our unconscious. First of all, there is some content, that is latent content or hidden content that unconscious wants to present as a dream. So this latent content will be bigger than the final dream, right? This is compressed into a short dream. Now this latent content cannot be presented in the dream as it is. Why? Because it will be very painful. You will wake up from your sleep. Your sleep will be disturbed. But your unconscious does not want to disturb your sleep and at the same time present this material. So what is the solution? Disguise, distort, and condense displays. So this is called the dream work. And in this dream work, distortion takes place, condensation takes place, displacement takes place. We will study what these things are individually. And then we get the manifested dream or the dream that we actually see. So the manifest dream will be shorter than or briefer than the manifest form. It's a compressed form of. So now we will try to understand what condensation and displacement are. So what is condensation? The condensation means you are compressing so many elements into very few elements, right? Compression. Yes. When you heat water, it will condense, evaporate, and it will appear as droplets. So let us say there are in the latent content there are three characteristics to be presented in the dream. One is your father, second is your teacher, and third may be a friend. So these three characters are to be presented in the dream. Now, condensation makes these characters into a single character. So in your dream, these three characters are condensed into one character. So that this character that appears to you in your dream as the look of the father, he looks like your father, but his voice is that of your teacher, and the dress that he has put on is that of your friends. Right? As it occurred to you in any dream, you dreamed about someone, but his voice was someone else's, or the way he walked was someone else's. Right? So this is condensation. So this is just an example. Okay, now what is displacement? Displacement means taking something from its proper place and putting it somewhere else. For example, the proper, let us say the proper place of the chair is this. So what do? You take this chair. So this is displacement. In psychology, displacement means you take the characteristic of someone or something and place it on some other person or some other thing. Right? For example, you have a pen in your right hand, right? So that is the original source of the pain. But that pain is displaced to some other organ. So that your right hand feels okay, but it is the left hand that has now pain. So that's a kind of a misleading, misguiding activity. So this is displacement. Condensation and displacement are two concepts that are much discussed in structuralism. We don't go into the details of it. Okay, what about the distortion? Distortion gives the meaning an absurd appearance. The dream appears to be as very nonsense, absurd. So that is distortion. So that you may laugh at the dream. Now, as for Freud, not only the dream, but your memory of the dream and how you narrate the dream, these things are also very important. That is, in your sleep, you have a dream. So we have two things. The original dream and its narration. So these two things are important. And the analyst has to listen to the narration. It is through the narration that the analyst understands your dream. So how you narrate your dream, what words you use, which part of the dream you remember, which part of the dream you forget, all these things are important for the analyst and for you. And in addition to these three things, distortion, condensation, and displacement, there is also another thing, dream symbolism. Now, it was Freud's idea that dream contains certain symbols. So certain things are expressed as symbols. And Freud said most of these symbols are related to sexual desires and sexual experiences. And they are symbolic of the genital organs. For example, if you see something very sharp like a knife or a gun or something, it's a symbol of the male sexual organ. If you see a bowl or a pot or a pond or things like that, it's a symbol of the female sexual organ. So, always Freud was attributing meaning to symbols in sexual terms. So, we have completed dream work, condensation, displacement, distortion, and also dream symbolism, the latent content, the manifest content, and why our unconscious distorts the dream, why it doesn't present the dream as it is. Now the next topic, important topic, is transference. What is transference? Now, Freud's method of free association. When a patient approaches Freud for psychoanalysis, there will be a couch. And behind the couch, there will be a chair. Freud asked that patient to tell him whatever occurs to his mind, whatever comes to his mind, without being critical, without judging anything, without leaving out anything, without thinking whether this is important or silly, without thinking whether if I say this, will I be ridiculed? No, we have a terrible fear of being ridiculed by people. So this is free association. And then um, Freud found that certain times the patient fell into a silence. There was nothing to say. A long period of silence. Now, why this long period of silence? Uh, Freud found that it was because the patient had some unpleasant emotion, experiencing some unpleasant emotion. Maybe the patient was feeling a kind of a hostility, enmity to the analyst. That is, the patient regarded the analyst as his enemy. Or in certain other cases, the patient regarded the analyst as a lover, an intimate relationship. So either the patient loved the analyst very much, fell in love with the analyst, or the patient hated the analyst. There were two extremes. So why did this happen? Freud said it happened because for the patient, the analyst was not the analyst, but the analyst represented a person in his or her life. That is, the patient was thinking that, or the patient saw some other person who played an important role in that person's life in the analyst. Understood? And it is said that his friend Broad, when he hypnotized the patient in the hypnotic sleep said she wanted a child by the analyst. Right? That means she fell in love with Broad. And it was blasphemous to Broad. Broad immediately stopped the hypnotism of this patient. And in certain other cases, and Freud himself narrates an incident in which a woman wanted to embrace Freud, because for that woman, Freud was her lover. But it was not a Freud. Freud was only a screen. It was someone else she was seeing in Freud, whether a lover or a enemy. And this is called transference, right? So transference means the patient regarding the analyst or treating the analyst as an important person in her life. So they have a fantasy relationship with the therapist, which was either a loving relationship or a hateful one. Now, transference is the patient taking the therapist for a person in their life with whom she had strong love or hatred. So, just as we have transference, there is also counter transference. Can anybody guess what a counter transference will be? Now you understand what transference is. So, what will be counter transference? The opposite of transference. Transference means patient thinking that the analyst is someone in his or her life. So counter transference will be the analyst thinking that the patient is someone who played an important role in his or her life. So the analyst can also think that the patient can remind the analyst of someone in his life. Patients might also remind the analyst of people from their past, either the father or the mother or the wife or the lover, such as their mothers or fathers. Now the next question is, Is transference good for therapy? Does transference help therapy or hinder therapy? What do you think? In what way? How does it help therapy? Yes, because now she can release her emotions, everything, because she thinks this person is her lover or her husband or her father, not the therapist. So when you think someone is very intimate to you, you will be more opened up. Your mind will open up more, right? So that way, transference will help therapy. But at first, it may seem that transference, this relationship for the patient, thinking that this person is someone else may hinder therapy. It actually promotes or helps therapy. Now, Freud says transference is not something that happens in the therapist room alone. It is a universal experience. Now he says in our daily life, we always substitute one person for another. Emotional substitution. And he says, behind every initial erotic attachment stands a whole history of previous erotic attachments. Just say you fell in love with someone. That someone got married, said goodbye to you. So what do? Do you remain unmarried forever? Not now. Maybe it's a past. So then you find another person and you have a fancy for this new person. Why? Why? Now Freud would say because this new person reminds you of the old person. This new person has some of the characteristics of the old person. So this new person is a substitute for the old person. No, in football game, substitutes will enter. Any doubts? Did it happen to you? No. No. Never. You don't agree with this? Okay. Did you understand this? So emotional substitution. Behind every initial erotic attachment stands a whole history of previous erotic attachments. Each new love or hate acts out, rewrites, revises, and replaces a person's old loves or hates.